I think the most important thing about Nano is not startups. I think it's all about people, because at this point, I think personal branding is the most important stuff, because if people believe you, if people trust you, they will follow you with probably whatever you do. To be honest, I don't have like the secret sauce. I think it's all about the community, and I think it's all about providing the value and be visible in the community. It's super important to have open mind and don't stuck with your solution, because you need to be ready that people will tell you that your solution is a shit.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Ship It and Sip It. I'm very excited to have Alex, who is working with us on the Nano Fund startups and is working on a bunch of cool things. Today, we're going to get into her projects, which include Uncover UX, Baked.design, Nano, Indie News, and Gossip in Public. She's a very busy person, and I'm very excited to have you on the show. Alex, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's nice to meet you again. And super nice to be here.
Awesome. Well, according to your pinned tweet, you have already found your happy place at 26. So congratulations with that. That's awesome.
Thank you. We can talk about this like in 1 year.
But there you say that your dream was head of strategy and research. And I guess, why is that not your dream anymore, or what turned you away from that?
So I think like I started in the tech from being a developer. I started from Ruby on Rails, then I switched to JavaScript, then I switched to like UX, UI term of development to be able to deliver like quicker prototype as a wireframes, like prototype not as wireframes, but already like ready website or ready app without backend function, but the front end was working. Mm-hmm. So from my perspective, like the most interesting thing about building and making stuff is the strategy phase. When you think how something needs to be built, the frameworks that are behind the processes. So I think we can call this service design. I think that's that's the right term. So I was like, it was hard because from the one side, I really like to build stuff and make them happen. But on the other stuff, the strategy phase is like super time consuming and super excited. So it was super hard for me to position myself on the market as an employee, as someone that needs to work for someone, bring value in specific field, as I always want, like overall, not the only one thing. So being head of strategy was my dream, like in case that I was able to shape the frameworks, I was able to focus on the planning stuff. But why it isn't anymore, I think it because I finally realized that every founder is a dreamer, and I'm not a person who can like make that dream come true because I have my own dreams. So I'm super happy to help startups, to help them with strategy, to do some research, to strategize, to explore. But I'm not the person that can support that insight and let's say have nothing to say, because by the end of the day, I think like every person in the company is there to support with the best knowledge the founders and their dreams. So I have my own dreams and I want my dreams happen. So I think that's the most important thing.
Very cool. And we're going to get into, I guess, the different ways you're following those dreams today. So I guess you said that the foundation for all this was Uncover UX, which is a very cool website of frameworks and knowledge bases and tools for people to understand more about UX. I guess let's dive into that. Why is that the foundation of everything you do, and who's it for? Who should be checking it out?
We noticed because I co-founded this with my friend. Um, we noticed that there is like a big gap of knowledge between how people see business, how people see code, and how people see design. So our goal was to educate designers, because that's also important stuff to talk about. That also a lot of people that call themselves product designer or UI designer or UX UI designer has no clue about user experience, like in the deeper understanding. So it all started with the Instagram and this sharing, like, let's say that there was a deep dive to like very detailed stuff on the topics. I think now we can call this playbooks.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't decide to go with the playbook name because there is like the competitor on the market, Chris, that has UX playbook, so that would be shooting the knee. So that's how it all started, and as it was targeting to Polish market, by the end of the last year, I decided, okay, I would like to go wider with this. That's why I started to be active on Twitter on the beginning of the February. And then, as I always wanted to do a lot of stuff, I like to do a lot of stuff, and I didn't have a clear vision to how make Uncover something bigger than only knowledge sharing, because it's super consuming and not that profitable. I didn't find a way, because it was sharing a content every day, like not one slide, two slide, but very like a lot of knowledge day by day, basically for free. But it allows me to create a lot of databases that I can currently use for bake design, or now to grow Uncover in different direction. So I see this like a time investment, a very long time investment in producing the content that currently I can reuse. So that's why Uncover is foundation, because that's how it all started.
Awesome. Well, let's get into your Twitter community, I guess. Community is a huge buzzword now. You say you just
Yes.
started on Twitter in February, so I'm curious how you found your tribe, your merry band of indie makers and designers there. How did you get into this group?
Okay, so that's pretty much interesting, because I was exploring Notion a lot back in
Mhm.
January and February as our playbooks, knowledge bases, whatever. That's a cool way of talking about your products. Whatever. Uh, they were produced in Notion, so I was super deep into Notion stuff and what you can do with Notion. So I was exploring Twitter and I was posting stuff related to UX and Notion. So how Notion can make your UX process easier. So I was playing with the templates, basically were discovering the tools, stuff like this. Back then, I think I met Ilzy. I don't know if you know her. She hosting spaces on Twitter
Okay.
and produce content about personal branding. Super cool. I recommend you to check it. uh, and sh- and she has a space with Lillian, the
Mhm.
cyber guy.
Mhm.
he also grew super fast. He did like sidebar, and then he also started to produce other stuff, and super cool guy. And I meet them, I started to talk with them, and I started to dive into the community and notice like person that are not that much big,
Yeah.
like 5, 6, 7K, but people like Nick back then, he has like 100 followers, or Norbert, that also was about this, Christian, that also was about this, and we started to talking, we started to grow together, uh, and I started to discovering things, started to think about that stuff differently, and somehow it happens. Like it was so natural. For example, with Dan, we were just chit-chatting with like a lot of sarcasm, and now we're doing hunted space together and product hunt lunches together, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And so how did you end up getting in touch with Eager, and how did you, what was your path to Nano like?
To be honest, I have no clue. I have no clue when Igor showed up on the Twitter like around us. I know he somehow showed up. I have no clue how it happened. I remember that Nick did it because Get Bake Studio, everything started that Nick started to roast people visually. I saw his roast and I was like, okay, I can do it. So I started to roast him, uh, started to roast his roast. So that's how Get Baked started. That's how our like co-funding journey started. And I remember that Igor was there somehow in March, because I remember his first viral tweet about that he doesn't know to make viral tweets or something like this. And I remember that Nick roast momentum.
Uh-huh.
I remember this. But then it was nothing, nothing, nothing. And he showed up around, I guess, Clue Product Hunt launch or
Okay.
after. I don't know. But it was like he just fit in like started to I don't know, hang up on Twitter. I think we can call this. So
Yeah.
then there was an idea about indie news randomly, and I started to write indie news. So I hope this is how I feel this, that it makes our community um a bit close, because it was like every 2 days, every 3 days, there was like a big tweet with everyone, and what is going on with that people, and in their projects, so they have possibility to exchange thoughts or tag or talk. So it was super cool. And but I remember that when Indie News started, Igor was already my pretty good friend. So I really do, it was so natural. When I think about this, it's so natural. And the weirdest part is that it's July. It's
Right.
all started in February. Most of us started in February, and it feels like few years. It's like 6 months. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, a lot has happened, but I guess connected with that, what did you think of Nano, and what do you understand as Nano now? Because you are redoing the website, as far as
Yeah.
I know. I saw this your tweet thread the other day.
Okay, so for me, uh, I first saw, because there was like parallel guys do a lot of noise around everything. I think they are in their own universe currently, because I think like half of parallel is already on Twitter, which is cool. But I think, and I think like currently parallel create their own universe that is not that close maybe to us and what we are doing, but they are engaging with us. They are part, but a lot of people see them as creating their own universe and that they are in their own world. But and at the beginning it was very confusing for us when it started to spread out, because it spread out like a virus. um it was really hard to understand, I guess, at least for people that I'm in the close connection with, what is going on? What is momentum? What is nano? What is parallel? Is like momentum part of parallel, or what is going on? So then
Right.
we started to researching like what is parallel, how big parallel is. You can discover pretty much stuff in the internet. So we started connecting the dots, and then Igor started with the first the challenge with startups, when
Right.
he was like every day on calls with everyone, and it was 30-day challenge to get your MVP, right? Get your
Yeah.
MVP
Yeah.
in 30 days. So for me, like, at first I saw Nano as some sort of startup incubator,
Mhm.
which we can say that it's kind of true. Um, but currently, I see this more as a community. I I really believe like that every company is media company. I really believe that it's better to push it something online that keep it in private. Even if this is like shit. I'm am I allowed to use the
Yeah.
words
Yeah.
like this? Okay.
It's
um
it's okay.
it's okay. So it's better publish, get feedback, or and exist, basically, because this is all about to exist. Because if you are not exist, you are no one. You can be 10 years on the market, and if you are not, if you only counting on recommendation, but the recommendation can stop at some point, and when you like facing the wall and see, okay, what to do, we need to post, but what we need to post, and then you started to work like for a year or something on perfect case studies, perfect website, perfect everything, because everything needs to be detail oriented, perfect and extraordinary. And I really like this approach. And this is how I see Nano. It's like making people believe and changing their mindset that things doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay to publish everything. It's okay to do shit posting, but you are exist. People interact you, people see you. And
Mhm.
this is the most important. And I think the most important thing about Nano is not startups. I think it's all about people, because at this point, I think personal branding is the most important stuff. Because if people believe you, if people trust you, they will follow you with what probably whatever you do. Or maybe they not if you will do something super bad.
Right.
We are not bad people, so
No.
so I think it's all about personal branding, creating your personal brand, talking about what you do and helping each other. And this is for me what is Nano, because you don't need to be on, let's name it, cohort. You don't need to be like mentor. You don't need to be let's say startup founder that is in Nano. Everyone helps because we exchange knowledge on daily basis. We help each other on daily basis. So I see Nano as a community of creators.
Interesting. Okay. Uh, I guess I'll explain what I thought was going to happen with Nano, and you can tell me why it wouldn't work or doesn't work or why it's not what's happening. So I also thought it was going to follow an incubator model, and it all seemed very logical in my mind. We had Nano Grit with like 30 founders, do 1 month, prove basically problem validation and building the personal brand of the founders. And everybody gets on calls, everybody supports each other's.
Mhm.
You learn about a bunch of new founders, creators, whatever, and help each other get through that month, learning how to post every day about your wins, whatever. After that, the cohort gets whittled down to the boot camp. There's like 5 or 10 startups there. They're building, what was the goal of the boot camp was to build traction to actually get paying customers
Yeah.
signed up, right? And then it gets whittled down more, and there's the accelerator. And in the accelerator, there are 2 or 3 or 4 startups that we actually build. And tied with all that was like, in my mind, would be a rolling investment fund. So during the grit and boot camp stages, the investors get to see all these cool startups. They get to know all the founders. They say, yes, I believe out of these 30 people, 3 or 4 will make great products
Mm-hmm.
together with Paralect and everybody that's in the community. And
Mm-hmm.
then by the time the accelerator ends, sort of the products are on the market, the investment money has been made, and the founders can then go off and raise like a bigger seed round because they already have traction. Nano makes a small investment but doesn't like fuck up the cap table too much, so that follow-on investors still want to touch them and be part of it. And we do that like 2 or 3 times a year, and
Yeah.
everybody lives happily ever after.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen, or it hasn't happened yet. So what's wrong with this ideal scenario in my mind?
Um, I think that ideal scenario is possible, but I think currently what is the most important thing is to, especially with the website, um, and for Twitter, I guess, is to make the situation like clear what Nano is, what Nano will be, because I think the vision is clear, but that vision needs to be communicated properly. And I don't think a Nano should be limited only to Twitter, because if you would like to limit yourself to Twitter, you don't need a website basically because you need to
Right.
handle everything by Twitter. So of course, by doing a website, you also counting to get organic, some sort of uh, traffic, right? So I think the most important thing currently is to define the persona for the investors and for the creators. Very good to be know who we want to target, because only if for the first like 1 2 3 4, like for the first year, how we will attract people, investors and creators, and who will cooperate with Nano in that sense will be super important, because this will shape how Nano looks like in public. It will shape if that's gonna be interesting for people or no, because if Nano will be confusing and people will have no idea what Nano is, they will not come in. And the mindset here is also important, as we talked already. So I think it's possible, but currently the situation needs to be clear, because Nano needs to build the brand, the solid foundation for the brand, and head the direction Nano needs to head, heading. So yeah, I this is how I see this. I think the adding clarity to Nano is necessary to make Nano successful.
Well, on that, I completely agree. Yes. Um, okay, well, we'll see how the new version of the website turns out, because it has been sort of since May, it's been stuck in this sort of loop of just
Mhm.
product updates. So I'm excited to see you working on it, and excited to see what happens with it after your work is done for the next stage. Let's talk about a couple more of your projects then. We've already discussed UX Club, Uncover UX Club. What about, I guess, what's the difference between Get Baked and Baked Design?
Okay. So Get Baked is design service dedicated to indie makers. And this is super important because from the very beginning, it was service that the target audience and everything that is happening is around Twitter. And it was from us two indie hackers that's starting with their startup, that's starting with their project, that doesn't have a budget, that doesn't know how to get the funding to get the proper budget. So they are in the terms when they invest in their project, not someone or users.
Yeah.
So the idea behind Get Bake is to make design service affordable and to make basically the website and the landing page or the tool visually attracted to target users. So the service is super cheap because it's 150, and we basically rose the design. And if you ask me how it is affordable for us, with doing indie design kits, one of our product, we created a framework that we use when working with indie makers. So we have ready framework with, I guess, 100 landing pages with 500 components that we reuse and only customize them for to visual direction and for product need. So this is Get Baked and Bake Studio. We decided, as in our perspective, Get Baked was quite successful. We wanted to expand ourselves to startups. As me and Nick, we both work for big companies and we both work with startups. We enjoy working with startups and we really like to help them. And we know also by working with startups, we know that it's important to find a good designer with startup budget. So basically most of the startup that I work with, that I came to, they was after the first turn with the designer, the junior designer, because that's what they can afford it. And the biggest problem is that Figma is a mess. Everything, like in terms of architecture, like the structure is a mess. So we don't want this to happen to startups. We want to be still affordable for startups. But we want to give them like expertise of people with 10 years experience, and to set up the startup to be prepared to expand in like from like visual design perspective. It's like with the code. You can code one feature that works pretty well, but if you will not make the code clean and you will not maintenance that code, if you would like to expand the app to new feature, you will basically you will not able to do it because will you implement something new, everything will crash. So the same thing. So yeah, and with Bake Studio, the partnership word is pretty much interesting for me, because for me, from the very beginning of my tech journey, the partnership with people I work with was the most important thing, which is pretty much interesting because I'm autistic, and I'm aware that I'm not reading like emotion correctly, the situation correctly, stuff like this. So it was always super important for me that I'm not, maybe back then, I'm not like very likable person because I'm straightforward and always say harsh truth in your face. But you can trust me that I will deliver you good things. That's why our way of marketing is doing free roast, because we want to starting to build that trust from the very beginning. And for me, the most important thing is to deliver the value for that people. And for example, with Sandra and Clue, I remember like Clue first steps. Nick roast Clue, I roasted Clue. We're working with Clue currently on the website redesign, and that I think that's the vibe, that you know who made it, what is the journey, what is the process, so you know the tool like well enough that if Sandra probably in 1 year, if she will trust us still in 1 year and would like to work with us, but probably she will not need to sit with me and say, okay, Alex, I need this, this, and this, and this, and to write super long brief, because she will not have a time. She can like call me, write me, Alex, we need this, and because we implementing this, and we probably will not like in 10 seconds what we need to do. So I think that's the kind of long-term relationship we are looking for.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I guess if some founder just lands on baked design, they hit your blog or whatever, and they say they don't know you, you don't have that sort of long-standing relationship,
Mhm.
and they say, "Oh, here's a really cool design studio that can help me build my app or my website or
Mhm.
whatever." What should they have ready already? And I guess how do you assess that idea, having no real previous knowledge of them?
For me, it's always a talk, and the first talk is super important. About like the most important part is the idea. The rest we can figure it out together. I think the most important thing from my perspective, I hope from Nick's perspective as well, is to have open mind. Um, I think that's idea and open mind is the most important thing you need to have to start working with any design studio. UX studio, UI studio, any studio that is related to experience of the user, experience of like from the visual perspective. It's super important to have open mind and don't stuck with your solution, because you need to be ready that people will tell you that your solution is a shit, that it will not work. Like if you work, you also work in tech, right? Sometimes when the brief come in and you see like what clients need, by the guts you can say, okay, it will not work. You have that sense of feeling after like I guess 3 or 4 years of working with different products. So I think this is super important. And it like most of the indies, most of the people that creating a startup were working with software houses, with development studio, design studio, whatever. And I think sometimes they forget about the frustration they had as a people that was doing a service for another company, and they are in the same trap as their clients previously. So I think like the open mind it's super important, and to be open to maybe change a little bit direction, and to be open to suggestion, and basically trust the people expertise, because if you want someone's service, it means two things: you don't know how to do it, or you don't have a time. So just trust, just select the perfect partner for you, and the person that feel your vibe, and can listen to you and can understand your needs, and just trust that people, that just trust that person.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Good advice. All right,
Okay, back to the lab.
let's let's talk about product hunt a little bit. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, you.
So we are staying here until Monday.
No, you got so many projects on. I'm gonna gotta let you work. But product hunt, you've been involved in quite a few great launches. So I guess how do you win on launch day on product hunt? What's your secret sauce?
I to be honest, I don't have like the secret sauce. I think it's all about the community, and I think it's all about providing the value and be visible in the community. My first successful launch is number 5 successful launch. I think it's top 5, so it's successful. So okay, but so my first ever launch on product hunt ended up with number 5 of the day. But the funny story was that I was super sure I rescheduled the lunch. My father visited me. I needed to took him from the airport at 3 a.m. And my dogs wake me up in the morning, and I look at the phone, and I got an email from Product Hunt. Congratulations on your launch, blah blah. And I was like, huh? What? I don't have anything. I don't have visual, like the graphics for Product Hunt. I don't have a comment prepared. It was already 9:30, and I was like, what the hell is going on? I rescheduled this yesterday. And I called Nick. Help! The lunch is going on, and it was super funny. Nick prepared super quickly the visual for the product, and people were super supportive because it was, I think, right after Oscar stories launch. Yeah. You need to
I
keep up with few things.
I check product hunt like when people in my network on Twitter launch, but other than that, I don't keep a
Okay.
close eye on.
Oscar Stories is a custom bedtime stories for kids. They they won, and it was also when Get Bake was in the peak, because we were doing a lot of roasts back then. Sometimes it was even 3 per day, and it was, I think, my first viral roast, so I feel super related to Oscar stories. It was my first, like, I think, viral roast because I roast their homepage to support the launch, and that was also the first idea of supporting the launch in that way. And I think people were on hype. People were, I think, maybe a little bit thankful for the roast, for like doing this and for free. So I think they support you then. And so I didn't engage that much in the first product hunt launch. It ended up in number 5. It was super cool. I made some sales. Perfect. Then I launched Indie News, and I think the success of Indie News was the hype of the product. I think I launched it in perfect time when like the closest people that were engaged in Indie News from the very beginning, they knew, but it's not enough. So um I think the time was perfect, the hype was perfect, the indie news was already spread to that much amount of people that people were willing to support, because there was hype and they wanted to be featured in indie news, which
Yeah, yeah.
basically indie news is posting. But also I think it is, besides entertainment, I think it's good to keep up with what is going on in building public community by reading indie news if you are close with our, let's say, circle. Then after indie news, we launched 7 days later, 8 days later, we launched Indie Design Kit, and I think that was one of the most successful day like in my life. Basically, it was crazy. I never saw something like this. We made with products for $19, we made over 2K in revenue in 24 hours. Like, it's crazy. Like the product is great.
Yeah.
Nick also, I think the success behind this is that me and Nick, we are in different time zones.
Hmm.
So it also makes, if someone wants to work with baked, you have 24 hours support. And I think Nick did pretty good job with creating a hype when I was sleeping, like the night before. He started to add some landing pages, started to put some stuff for free. We also did the pre-order. So we have like, I guess, 300 people on pre-order. So the pressure was big, but it also good as nice database to send and to say good morning email with hello, you finally have an access to indie design kit, and we would be super grateful if you would support us on product hunt today. And it was great that people from community came to support us. It was great that our customers came to support us. But the most important thing is how big exposure we get to the product, and how many people like like hunt us basically on product hunt. And because the amount of revenue showed that, because people from our community, people from our circle already had pre-order,
Yeah.
but took over 2K in revenue like only from product hunt is crazy. So that was big, and that give us also a push forward. Like, okay, we can expand this to Tailwind CSS. We can expand this to Framer, which we're currently working on. So it's a great push. Product Hunt is great push to show yourself to people, and um and to have like have a push to move forward and grow your product, your app, your service, whatever. Then, and so I think here was people was hype after, because May and April and May was pretty much hype. Product Hunt was hype in our community because a lot of big makers were launching.
Yeah.
Clue were launching, Dan was launching Club, Oscar Stories launched. There was a lot of successful story about the Product Hunt. So I think the hype was big. I think we did a good product. I think we did a good hype with Get Big and with, let's say, pre-marketing 24 hours before. and and our work during the lunch, because it's also important.
Yeah.
Then I have a little bit break, and then uh Dan create an app called Hunted Space, which is absolutely uh amazing idea. I think, like, for the people that are super focused on data and want to do analysis, is a perfect tool. And when we close, when we become closer together with Dan and Sandra, we started to talk a lot about Hunted Space, and we started to brainstorming about Hunted Space, and started to basically, I think, creating the tool together. Of course, Dan is a strong fundamental, as it was his idea. He like called the application, he created the algorithm to create the graphs. So all the fame to him, but I'm super happy that I can be part of this. And Sandra had birthday month ago, like 23rd June. And before the birthday, she said, "Hi, all I want for my birthday is Hunted Space launching on Product Hunt." And I was like, okay, I'm scheduling it. And I was, no, 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 no. And so I scheduled this. And we created the teaser page. And we waited for lunch day, but we need to reschedule at first because Dan had like family stuff, and we needed to reschedule. And also by the meantime, Dan decided, okay, I will develop MRR Art Pro, and okay, let's launch it on the Product Hunt. So it was at the beginning, it was like it should be the weekend after weekend.
Yeah.
But then he had the family stuff. So then we wanted to launch 2 products on one day, which was crazy idea. But then behind Dan's back, we talked with Sandra. Okay, Hunted Space is such a great tool. Like, with no offense to MRR Pro, but Hunted Space is such a great tool. That's the tool that needs exposure and needs visibility to new people. Weekend is not idea for Hunted Space. We need to launch in the weekday. So we decided already we've done that. Okay, let's move to Friday, and then let's MRR Pro on Saturday. Of course, we were scared that a lot of people told us, okay, there will no one that will support you on Saturday because people will be tired after after the Friday and supporting you on Friday. And it was like, is it like the hype? The
It's just
hype.
opening one page and clicking upvote.
Exactly. This is upvote and comment. That's it. That's
Yeah.
all what you need to do. It's not that tiring. You can be tired of us and seeing us everywhere and hosting a spaces on Twitter. But you can be tired by clicking upvote button or supporting someone. And of course, if you want to support, support. If you don't want to support, do not support. No hard feelings, right? And in my head, it like the idea of launching 2 stuff in one day is perfect because the hype. Like, imagine the hype. Like, imagine just the hype of like 3 crazy people that launching 2 things in one day.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it worked out. Hunted Space did amazing. I'm still not over it that we ended up on the second place.
Yeah. So what happens? Just for people that weren't there on the day of the launch, uh, you had a very successful launch. You had a big lead,
Yes.
and then a bunch of votes got deleted. Or did you ever get an answer from them about why?
Yes, that it's hard to say what happened because I was observing the launch and what is going on, because we first, for all people, we need to say the Product Hunt algorithm is updated every minute. So we don't know. We know what has happened like minute by minute, but we don't know what is happening in that minute. So we don't know how much upvotes you get by this minute and how many upvotes they can delete you in that minute. And it's also a little bit problematic also with Hunted Space, because Hunted Space track the information every 5 minutes. So you also don't see the diagram like in the real time. As
Yeah.
Product Hunt, you have like the 5 minute delay. So I have no clue. I have no clue what happened. I can only like think about this based on also the co-pilot, so the product number one of the day behavior after the lunch and the comment that he left under our lunch. I don't know what happened, but I get, and like when we launch Hunted Space, I get a lot of messages with proposition of buying upvotes.
Mhm.
Uh, we are cool, so we not buying upvotes. But at the some point, yes, hunted product hunt took us like around 22 upvotes. And it was huge because if you, but minute by minute, you take someone 22 upvotes, something is wrong. Like, why? If everything is legit, we're not asking about upvotes because it's not allowed by product count. You can ask about support, you cannot ask for upvotes and comments. We didn't send cold messages. We didn't like create accounts to upvotes. We didn't ask our friends to create upvotes. A lot of profiles that upvote us is a strong account on product hunt. So everything on like how we understand product hunt algorithm and how it works, everything should be fine. And the weird thing, because when they took us 25 up, okay, the story, because for the first 9 hours we were in the lead. And at some point, we went down to the second place with more comments, with bigger vote speed, with more upvotes, with everything bigger. And but after like 2 or 3 hours, they took us upvotes and they have a peak, and the places made sense at this point because the upvotes, the number of upvotes changed. So from our perspective, it looks like, okay, they took us upvotes to make like the places make sense.
Right.
So because basically what like the most important thing on product hunt from like on how we understand the algorithm is the vote speed. If your line is good, you cool. you probably gonna win. But if your vote speed going like this, by the prediction of algorithm, you will move down. So when the copilot was in the peak and we were stable, the algorithm probably predict that okay, they gonna win because they will have more upvotes. But then something weird happened, because when you entering the night is basically on product hunt super slow because mostly like Europeans are mostly Europeans are active on product hunt.
Right.
So it's slowed down, and I watch the product hunt for about, I guess, 3 or 4 hours, trying to understand what is happening, what happened with upvotes being on like chat with the support. Didn't do anything interesting because it looks like basically corporate talk, and that the consultant did basically copy paste from Notion document or something like this. And so we can say that during the night you get one upvote per 5-7 minutes, something like this. So something interesting that happened, that every time when we get one upvote, after the 1 minute, Copilot have 2 upvotes. And it was a pattern because every time when we get upvotes, our upvotes show up. After that minute, they add like, or after 2 minutes, they have already 2 or 3 upvotes more. And it was pattern. And for night, it's super weird. So I don't want to like accuse anyone for like cheating or something like this, but it's weird. And it was super clearly to observe this at night. To like, because it's weird that nothing is happening. Someone get an upvote at 2:31, and on 2:32 someone else received 2 upvotes. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then the co-founder, someone from the team from Copilot, left us a comment. Super cool tool, guys. It was super fun to use your tool to watch how we overtook you.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a little snarky, but it
Yeah.
makes sense because
Yeah.
that's the purpose of
But
hunting.
that was our goal. Like the whole hype, like in my head was like, imagine how cool is it that people that launching on the same day as you, and using your tool to watch their lunches. This is kind of vibe, and also the funny thing is that you create infinity loop, right? Because you are on you're launching haunted space, and the haunted space redirects you to product hunt, and you and when you go to product hunt to see the lunch, the product hunt redirects you to haunted space. So quite funny. And then we suffered with Sandra, we suffered the next day, and we launched MRR Pro, and MRR Pro ended up first. And I think I think like our community, the community around me, around Sandra, around Dan, I think it's quite big that even if we will not post anything that day, people were knowing that MRR is on production, and they were happy to support it, which is crazy and amazing. But and basically on Saturday, community did the job,
Yeah,
because mostly we were sleeping on the couch. Uh, we did like 2 long spaces at the MRR day launch, and that's it. We post few stuff, but my head were in different place.
yeah,
So the community and the power of the community were amazing. I think also the number two, and what happened during the launch, that people there was some sort of the movement because people were pissed basically.
yeah,
I think it also powered the MRR launch, and also weekends are easier. If you have a big community, weekends are easier, but it doesn't give you that much exposure because less people are active.
for
So
sure.
I don't think there is like in like all these stories there is like the secret sauce, but maybe that happens someone helps someone.
Yeah, well, an engaged community, I guess, is the first place to start.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of community, I wanted to ask if I'm not sure where you are, but do you have an in real life community of sort of makers, creators,
No.
startup folks? No?
No. No one, basically no one from my close friends. I have like very close circle of my friends, and with the people that I meet up. No one understands what I do. uh, Basically, they have hard time to keep up with what I'm doing. And no, like all the friends that are related to doing stuff and to creating stuff are uh, in digital world.
Interesting. Um, let's see. Also on community, how do you find people to highlight on indie news?
I don't find them. Like the whole idea, and I think that like the whole secret of indie news is my memory. I think we can thanks my autism. Because I don't know if you know how indie news started.
No.
Okay, so that's gonna be a quick story. Um, so I don't know if you know Daniela. Probably no, because you're pretty new on Twitter. I will send you her
I've
profile. So
I've been
there's
on Twitter since like 2017. Come on.
come on. Okay. Okay, I will send you her profile. And she was sick. She has COVID, and she didn't she wasn't active on Twitter. And we randomly started to talk under her tweet, and she asked me, okay, so what happened during this 2 weeks? So I was waiting at the vet with my dog, and I was like, okay, let's summarize. So I summarized like everyone who I know, what is going on. I guess I mentioned like around 30 people there. And under her post, under my comment, like people basically blow up. People was so hyped that something like this happening. Uh that let's do something like this. Okay, let's call this indie news. Next day I create logo website and I started writing, and basically that's it. So I never did a research for indie news. Everything that is mentioned in indie news is based on my memory, and basically like if you want to be on indie news, I need to remember you. So probably I need to know you, because it's easier to remember what is going on in with the people that you are in the contact with. So of course, on every indie news there is mention about Sandra, about Dan, about Igor, about Nick, because I talk with them on daily basis, so I know what is going on. They show up in my feed. But there is like the people like Ma, Dima, Oscar stories, guys. Norbert, Daniel, much more people that I'm in, like, let's say, secondary contacts. So we talk basically every day, but we don't talk in private chat. Yes, I do stuff in private.
We all do. We all do.
So it's also easy to remember them because I talk with them, or I do something for them, or they did something for me. And there is also random people. Um, but the most important thing is that I sometimes I remember something, but I don't remember the username because it's like XX11555666. So
Yeah.
no way to remember this, right? Like for example, Dima Paralek Dima.
Yeah.
I know it started with DM. He started to get that much followers that he started to show up after what is the name of that symbol?
The profile photo, or I'm not
No, no,
sure.
no. That when you click shift 2.
I'm not sure.
When you type and
Ah.
add. Okay, so add
Okay. So
when you to add NDM, he started to show up. So it's easier to mention him right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Back 2 months ago, it was impossible to find him. So that's two things. You need to do something that I remember, and I need to remember your username. That's it.
Interesting. Okay. So if you want to be on indie news, you got to get Alex's attention
Yes.
and regularly. All right. Let's wrap this up because I don't want to take too much of your time. I guess after, let's get back to Nano real quick
Mm.
because after you get done redoing the website, you're looking forward to working with the Nano founders. What kind of partnership are you looking for there? How do you think you're going to help in that community?
Um, I think um I have a pleasure to talk with Salt and Bold founders, Lena and Victoria. I hope for them it was nice talk. We brainstorm a bit. It's super cool when people have experience with working with different companies, because it's super big advantage because you can look for the patterns. So I think I can help connect the dots and suggest where they should hit and where the hype can be, because even if Salt and Bolt and Bake Studio, we can easily say they are competitors. I don't feel bad helping them, and I don't feel like any jealousy or anything. I just want to help them because for me it's another company that can grow and be successful, and I think the vibe of the girls is totally different, and they can help totally different people than I can help. So I'm open to talk about the strategies, where to hit, who, and I'm the person who loves to experiment. I'm the person who will be first to do something in 30 minutes, push it live, and check it at work. Uh, if I see that something can be valuable for people. So if you need experiment or you need a little bit push or weird approach to something, I think I'm the girl.
Very cool. And just to wrap up, I'm curious, you have so many different things that you're working on. How do you balance these things? You said in your tweet that you choose when I work and what I work on. So do you wake up every morning and just throw darts at a dartboard with a big pie sheet of
No,
like indie hackers over here? No?
no,
Okay.
no. I don't use any time management tool. I never used only like the companies when I needed to report my time. So that's
Mm.
obviously or prepare springboard for my team. So that's the only when I use it. But for me, it never works. I remember everything that I need to do, and I sit and just do what I need to do. But it's cool to have a lot of stuff because you can select what you like vibing with today. But I think again, because of my autism, I think I'm able to do that much stuff because I have fixation on some stuff. But it may sound cool, but from my perspective, it not that cool. It's cool because I'm productive, but after like 2 or 3 months, I'm super like exhausted and I don't want to do anything, and that's frustration. And not every day is like perfect, and not every day I want to do stuff because sometimes I for example, I have sleepless night and I don't want to do something, and that day I think I as everyone I blame myself that I don't do anything. That happened yesterday. So most of the days when I'm in like my vibe moods, stuff like this, I'm just sit and do that everything that I know that needs to be done, that the deadline is close. um and that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share coming up? Something to hype up in the next couple weeks?
So I think in a couple of weeks, like new Nano website will show up live, and I hope it will give some clarity to all the chaos and everything that is happening on Twitter. I hope the website will be the calm place for Nano and to people that are interested in Nano. New Bake Studio experiment will probably release. I hope so. That's gonna be for new startup with some budget. And I hope that I finally will have a mood to write indie news. So and I think in the near future that's my plans.
Awesome. Well, Alex, thank you so much. I will drop links to your Twitter and all of your websites in the show notes for today's show. And if you want to be featured in Indie News or want to follow what Alex is working on, go check it out. And she's
Who
working on a lot of, yeah, follow Alex and
Hello, John.
check out the new Nano website when it goes live. It might be live before we even publish this show. So thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been great meeting you.
Thank you so much, John. It was nice talk. Bye.
Bye.